You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're with me at Durian ASEAN. Today we are going to talk about a documentary film. It's called Viral Peep, with a producer and co-director of the documentary film, Mayang Al-Mokhdar. She's going to share with us on what inspired her to make this story and how the story has developed, as well as, issues related to freedom of expression and social media. So, without further ado, let me introduce Mayang.
Hello, Arlene.
First of all, thank you for coming to Durian ASEAN.
You're welcome. In the last 5 or 6 years before I came back to Malaysia, I only returned to Malaysia about 4 years ago. And the previous 5 or 6 years before that, I was in the UK working in documentaries. So I worked for the BBC, I did a documentary for Nat Geo, so I did everything from, carrying lights to being assistant producer on all kinds of different documentaries. So I learned very much from the ground, and I don't have a filmmaking degree or any qualifications. I learned on the job. And I mostly did history and science documentaries. After doing that in the UK and coming back to Malaysia is just filled with fascinating stories. So I can bring back the skills that I learned at the BBC. How do you write a story? How do you film this stuff? How do you put all of this stuff together? And it's been very exciting in Malaysia, actually. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. So lots more to come.
And also congratulations for winning the Freedom Film Fest award.
Yes, we won for Best Short Documentary in the Grants category. So that was a big surprise. And also the prize, which they only announced on the night. So we didn't actually know that there was a prize for this award. And the prize is that we're being sent to Leipzig Documentary and Animation Festival in Germany.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, at the end of this month. So it'll be me, myself, and my lead director, David Buri. We're going to go over there, maybe try to raise some money for our next documentary.
So you make a documentary film on a viral video,
yes,
and how it impacted society, especially the Malay society.
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
How it came about was sometime in March, BFM Radio has an online Malay language satirical YouTube series that tackles current affairs, politics, that kind of thing. And the host is called Edri Faizal, and they try to make jokes about what's happening in Malaysia.
And they've been doing this for quite some time.
Quite some time. This is the third host they've had, actually. It's been a few years of the show. But then Edri had to go to Kelantan because he was volunteering to help with flood victims. And so Aisyah Tajuddin, a very young journalist with BFM, who has her own show, it's more of a lifestyle show, so she does. This was a much more serious current affairs show for her, so she stepped in to cover for Edri. And they did an episode called Hudud Isi Periuk Nasi, or in English, Hudud, Will It Fill Your Rice Bowl? And the show, which had been a relatively small show, overnight just went viral. Hundreds of thousands of people viewed and shared this video. And it was quite an organic viral phenomenon. Ordinary people shared it. They ripped the video from YouTube. They shared it on Facebook, etc. And mostly out of anger. It very much drove people to be very upset because they understood the video as insulting Islam, or insulting at least hudud, the Islamic criminal law. And it led to some very serious consequences. The production team and BFM were investigated by the police, and Aisha herself got hundreds of threats, actually, death threats, rape threats. People wanted to burn her, they wanted to beat her up, they tried to find out where she lived.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they called the radio station, she was terrified, basically. So we decided to make a documentary a few months afterwards about what happened. How can this happen? How can a small satirical video...
It happened it was very quick.
Very, very quick.
She just came to fame just like that.
Just like that.
For the wrong reason, of course.
Yes, I mean, it was a very unfortunate incident for her, and it has changed her life very, very dramatically.
As a filmmaker, what was your perspective on this film that you wanted to portray?
Well, we wanted to explore how and why this video, that for many people thought it was quite innocuous, and why, for instance, a series that has been going on for a couple of years, and personally I think have done things even more provocative than this video. Why this video? You know, what was so special about this particular episode that made ordinary people, you know, this wasn't, you know, a government or a police-led witch hunt in any way. This was organic. It came from ordinary people, and it happened within hours. Because I was there the night, a few hours after the video was uploaded, and by this point it was already tens of thousands of shares, and people were attacking her on Twitter, telling her that she was going to get raped, telling her that they were going to hunt her down for insulting Islam, and that, you know, she was going to go to hell, and all kinds of things. So within that night, she was forced to shut her Twitter account because it was just so aggressive.
I see. Just to go back to what happened during the time where she got attacked by the social media community or netizens, what did she do after that? Or did you guys make any police reports?
Yes, BFM. Yeah. I came in a little later from a professional point of view. I don't work for BFM. But BFM immediately took stock. They took down the video that night itself from YouTube. They had an emergency meeting. They had a press release afterwards to explain things to the public, and they apologized for causing such outrage and if anyone was offended, but they also did a police report about the threats to Aisha, which were so overwhelming and quite shocking, really. So the police ended up investigating both.
So now everything is fine, I hope.
Pretty much, mostly because what we discovered from making the documentary is the reason why it's fine isn't really from official efforts. So the police have closed the investigation. They've said, you know, there's nothing seditious or insulting about the video, so they've closed it, but they obviously also haven't made a big deal out of it. And the main reason it's gone quiet is just that people forget. So there's one section in the film where we go to Taman Tasik Titi Wangsa and we just ask ordinary people. This is about 3 months after what happened. This is about June. And we asked people, you know, do you remember the Aisyah Tajuddin video? What do you think? Did you get mad? Why did you get mad? And most people's responses, if they even knew what it was really? That video? Wasn't that ages ago?
Wow.
So you know, but
it was just a couple of months ago,
3
right?
months max. Yeah. In the world of online controversies, 3 months is forever. Without doubt.
But that's the difference between social media and real life. Everything happened like wildfire, but the next thing you know, maybe
there's another one.
And people forget what happened just a couple of months ago. The story that you want to capture, which is the BFM video, it's not just about it being viral, but also like the story behind it being viral.
Yes, we wanted to examine what were the factors why this video went viral. So, you know, because we already have a comparison, like why did the other videos, the other Kupas episodes not go viral, right? What's different about this one?
So it's not about socio-economic inequality or about hudud, what you're talking about?
No, our documentary isn't about hudud per se or economics per se. Of course, we discuss hudud a little bit, like we give, you know, a definition of hudud, like what's actually happening. So we give a context to this video, like hudud from a theological perspective, just a simple, you know, hudud are Islamic criminal laws that are mentioned in the Quran. That's a very specific definition. And also what the hudud enactment is, which is an enactment being passed in Kelantan to be able to bring in Islamic criminal law in the state of Kelantan. So just setting the context, but we don't explore hudud per se. The documentary is more about this very specific
phenomenon, I would say.
Well, yeah, it did become a phenomenon. This very specific controversy, and also what it says about Malaysian society, what it says about freedom of expression and our ability to tolerate differences of opinion, and also what online culture is like. I mean, we discovered a lot of things. I mean, gender turned out to be a very, very big part of why this specific video went viral.
Gender. We will go more specific on that on the second segment of our interview, but I'm interested in the general term of your research because it looks like this is something that is peculiar to Malaysian internet culture. But do you think globally?
Yes, it's not
People
just a
act that
Malaysian.
way?
Yes, I mean it is not just a Malaysian thing. Although we didn't go into detail with it, but we have one shot in the film where we put up 3 rape threats that we found around the world. One is Malaysian, 2 of them are not Malaysian, and they are just shocking. They are just, I mean, people just send this stuff out for no reason. The worst one, which I can't say on air because it's that terrible, but you can see it in the film, was just a random rape threat sent to a singer of a band. That's it. She has not done anything controversial. She's just an ordinary singer of a band. That's it. And for the crime of simply being the female singer of a band, people sent her rape threats just for fun. And you can see it in a legal response in a few countries as well. So Korea has specific laws around online crimes now. The UK has successfully prosecuted under new laws people who make online threats, and it's quite clear they're gendered. These are all situations where female public figures have been threatened along gendered lines. So the case in the UK just finished maybe a month or 2 ago. No, more than that. 3 months ago, maybe, something like that. And 2 people were sent to jail for making rape and death threats.
They do have a law in other countries.
So other countries are also beginning to... We don't have a law yet in Malaysia, but other countries... what I'm saying about these laws is that you would only make a law because there's a problem.
That's true.
So these problems are happening all around the world. Anywhere you have the internet, we're seeing these kinds of problems, particularly when it's gendered. And so the countries that are having it maybe the worst, or at least are being sensitive to it, are making laws of this kind. So the big controversies of this kind have been actually in the UK and the US. So Gamergate in the US mostly, but other places as well. That's a big one. Mary Beard, a philosophy professor, very eminent philosophy professor, also got all kinds of terrible threats. She's like 80 years old or something, but hey, it's the internet. So it is a universal phenomenon, unfortunately.
It's something that I think we all have to face, especially in the world where we have our first world problem. So I guess this is the internet culture, and it's here to stay.
I hope it's not here to stay. And obviously some countries have started making laws in the hope that they can at least change it, address it. Yeah, absolutely. But that is the reality right now, yes.
Yeah. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss further on her documentary film, as well as what kind of challenges that she went through to make this film.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. You're back with me, and also Mayang Al-Mokhdar. She's the producer and co-director of the documentary film Viral Beep. I do want to focus more on when it comes to viral video. What makes a video viral? I think that's a question that not just marketing executive would want to know, but in general, layperson.
Sure. I'm going to focus on the Malaysian context a little bit, but I would say these principles play out internationally as well. So one of the people that we interview in the film, which I actually found was one of the most interesting parts pretty early on in the film, is we spoke to a social media analyst, like a professional whose job is actually, tracking social media, finding ways to monetize social media activities, and so on. So he really knows what it's like on the online world, and he was telling us some very interesting things. So first of all, what do people share? Right, that's the first thing to make something viral. What do people share? Why do they share certain things? It turns out that being angry, outraged, offended, this kind of emotion causes people to share more than any other emotion, more than funny stuff, more than kitten videos, more than like disgusting videos. If it makes you mad, you're going to share it.
So the world of the internet is full of angry people.
Angry people. angry people. This is...
Stay out of the internet. We want to be happy.
For some reason, we want to share our anger more than we want to share anything else. So that's the first thing. So, so you already have that going on. The second thing is to understand that the internet is also a marketplace. Things don't become viral often. They don't become viral completely by accident. So...
But how is that so? Sometimes, you just stumble upon a viral video. It looks organically viral?
Well, there's a few situations. So one, there are viral campaigns that are actually created by businesses, of course. So they've already
like the Coney 2012.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. They had a lot of backing, so they were already going to make it viral. But there's lots of others, you know. It goes beyond that. The content can be organic. So like the Aisha video, the content was organic. It was put up by BFM, etc. But you have other Facebook pages and websites that make their money from shares, likes, followers.
So these are second layers of media.
Absolutely. So, you know, people like Siak Keli, you know, like all of these kinds of, what's the other one? The Sukan Star, you know, all of these kinds of stuff. And there are others. Like some are clearly businesses. Like Sukan Star is clearly a business, but many others you can't tell. And the more likes they have, the more followers they have, the more comments they have, the higher they can sell their posts. Right? So next time, if they want to do a post about shampoo or something, they can charge 800 ringgit, 1,000 ringgit per post because they have 1 million followers, right?
So these are the local version of BuzzFeed, I suppose.
Sort of. I'm not sure BuzzFeed is the best example, but yes, BuzzFeed does that too. They too want to find the next big thing. All the media is doing this.
So
on
what do
some
you
level.
call this kind of media? Because they are not really reporting news. They are actually reproducing original content.
I'm not sure what they're called. We might have to call in my social media expert again, whether there's a term for them right now.
And they seem to want to make every video go viral.
Yes, well, it's not so much that, yes, they want to make every video go viral, but they have to choose their video correctly, right? Because you can't just make any video go viral. So you already know I want to make the video viral because I want more likes, I want more comments, because it will make me money down the line. And what goes viral? Things that make people angry, right? So they're constantly looking for things that are going to make people angry. So as our social media expert pointed out, they'll take these videos or pictures or whatever, it doesn't have to be video, they'll put it on their Facebook site and then they'll put a sensational title, right? So in Aisha's case, they put the video on Facebook and they say, young lady insults Islam, watch it here, you know. So the video obviously doesn't do anything of the kind and doesn't say anything and doesn't say, you know, anything insulting about Islam. But by putting a headline like that, immediately people are like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, so they already think, oh, this girl is insulting Islam, right? Because that's the headline. And another thing that our social media expert brought up was he tracked the video, like how it got viral. And at different points, he can check how the video is going viral. So he pointed out that, say, for instance, at a particular point, the video had 15,000 views, but it had 30,000 shares.
How is that possible?
Yeah. So that means people are sharing without watching the video. They want to join their friends, you know. Everybody's angry. My friends are all talking about this video. I also have to talk about this video. I also have to share it. I also have to comment. I also, you know, and you've already got a headline that tells you what's going on, right? The headline says this girl is insulting Islam. Excellent. I just share it and I say, what a horrible girl, she's insulting Islam. It goes viral. People make money. So there's an economic element to what's going on as well.
But it's also an indication that people don't read contents nowadays. Not even a video content.
Well, the thing about going viral is it's like that next trend, right? That next really good fashionable shoe or really, you know, well-known brand or something like that. You can't sit around and check out whether this brand is good or not and spend a year checking whether the brand is good. It's cool now, right? And the internet makes it even faster. It's only going to be cool for the next 10 minutes. I don't have time to watch this 3-minute video. All my friends are already sharing it. If I don't want to be left behind this current fashion, this viral thing, I better jump in now. You know, so it becomes like a mob. Everybody's coming together, sharing this cool thing. So, yeah, I mean, yes, they don't have the time to watch it, but partly it's because there's a frenzy. Do it quickly, join in.
And one thing, you say people would tend to share things that makes them angry. So what makes Malaysian angry?
Well, I think there was a perfect storm. Religion is, of course, going to be a sensitive subject in virtually any country. You've already got a touchy subject here. And it was, as our social media expert said as well, it was the same day that the Hudud enactment passed. He said it in this way. He said it was a hot topic, you know, because on that day itself, the Hudud enactment passed in Kelantan. And then you had a video that was hot, so it exploded. That was the way he put it. So you had everything happening at the same time. So timing, content was a big issue as to why this video went viral. Why did it make people angry? Okay, you're talking about religion. That's always a tough thing. And the other thing we found from interviewing just ordinary people, we interviewed PR expert, we interviewed a comedian, because this was a satirical video, and all of them said the style of the video and some of the things, like some of the skits and so on, made people not see the actual message of the video. Because the message of the video, the Hudud Isi Periuk Nasi video, was simply, should Hudud be the priority for the Kelantanese government, given that flood victims still don't have homes?
Can you define what style is? Is it because she's a woman? Or is it because she does it in a satirical manner? Or is it because she's simply stating the fact, like direct to the point?
The gender element is part of that style, but I'll address that separately. Satire is also an important thing. I mean, because people say make fun. They use the word, mempersenda, make fun.
So usually when you talk about religion, Malaysians assume that you have to say it in a manner that is more academic-like.
Or serious or gentle. Or respectful, I suppose. In general, people don't think humor is respectful, right? Laughing at something is generally not a respectful thing. So that was a problem. But I think if you get your humor right, it can work. So our documentary is also a humorous documentary. We didn't keep it serious. We actually had lots of jokes, all around. And we think we are on the right side of using the jokes properly. But I think some of the jokes that were used in the original video perhaps was a little...
Mockery? Would that be?
No. It's definitely not mockery, but it's not directly connected to the point. Right? So the point of the video is Hudud the correct priority? I'm not sure all of the skits made that message come through.
The majority of the people you interviewed said the same thing.
Yes, some of them didn't even realize that was the point of the video.
Which is about socio-economic inequality.
Yeah, basically about governance. Governance and prioritizing the urgent needs of your people. And should Hudud be, a priority in a situation where you're the poorest country, you've got huge AIDS rates, you've got the biggest...
Yeah, the poorest state.
Exactly. You've got the biggest flood in a generation, and people, hundreds of thousands of people had no homes. So the video... But most people that we asked, ordinary people, had no idea that was the point of the video. They were blindsided by some of the skits that did not directly address this point.
Let's talk about gender, because I think gender played a huge part in making this video viral. One of the point, if I may mention, during the documentary itself, that you make a comparison with a couple of politicians who said almost the same thing.
I think they said far more provocative things. Far more.
But they were not even being threatened at all.
Yep,
in fact, no one actually commented.
Absolutely. And we pointed to 3 or 4 different politicians and the things that they said. So, Mahathir is, of course, the most provocative when it comes to Hudud. And so we quoted something he said last year, which was, he said, and this was in Astro Awani's news, actually. So this was filmed, this was shown on TV.
And it's mainstream.
Totally mainstream. And Dr. Mahathir said, with passes Hudud, you will end up with Malay people having no hands. Nothing that Aisyah Hobby FM said in the video came anywhere near that
and
level.
You can imagine if she said it.
Oh my God, it would be even worse. If it could have been worse. But yeah. So there was no way she could have gotten away with saying something like that.
But why gender plays such a huge part?
Well, looking at it, we asked everyone this question, right? So we asked our PR expert this question. We asked our comedian this question. We asked our social media analyst this question. We asked every single person said they're pretty sure that the fact that she was a woman made it worse. The fact that she was a very young woman, and the fact that she was an uncovered woman.
That says a lot about the Malaysian psyche when it comes to gender hierarchy.
Definitely. I mean, there's and as our social media expert pointed out, it's not just Malaysian. Even around the world, women get bullied online far more than men do. You know, as he says, women will troll women and men will troll women. Everyone trolls women. You know, in this particular situation in Malaysia, it just made it worse because it was a religious issue. But women getting bullied online, that's a pretty universal phenomenon. But yes, in Malaysia, in a religious context, particularly an Islamic religious context, the fact that she was a woman did make people take her less seriously and get more angry than they would have. The original host, Edry, who is the host of our documentary, he's in his 30s, he's quite like a dude, you know, he's like a slightly big guy, he's got long hair. If he had said the exact same thing, there would not have been the same effect. People may have still condemned him. People may still say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to hudud.
But I can imagine if people say, I will rape you.
Nope, there will definitely not be rape threats. Almost certainly no death threats even.
Yeah.
At best, somebody might go, if I see you, I'm going to give you a slap. That's the most. That
it reminds me of a recent news about slapping.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is the trend now. It's like everyone wants to slap anyone, everyone else.
Yeah. So, you know, and as our PR expert also said, it matters who says the message. It's not fair, certainly when it comes to gender, but it does matter. It creates a different effect. People react differently when the messenger is different, and people take women less seriously, particularly when it's a religious subject. And they react much more harshly in judging that woman. I mean, we're seeing it all the time in Malaysia at the moment, right? Somebody wins an award from BNM scholarship and everybody's just constantly on their case about not wearing hijab.
Anyway, we'll take another one short break. When we return, we'll talk more about the film Viral Beep.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're back with me again and also with Mayang Al-Mokhdar. Just now we talked a lot about your role in the film as well as how the film has impacted our society. Tell us more about the Kupas series.
Okay, Kupas is a satirical current affairs YouTube show. It usually ranges between 2 to 5 minutes, addressing whatever current events that's happening in Malaysia. So, you know, it has addressed all kinds of like legal things or political things and so on, but done in a satirical, funny way, lots of skits. I mean, it's a little bit like things like Jon Stewart, but more skits. They have a lot of skits that illustrate the point. And they have actually done some quite provocative things. Like, you know, they've discussed like sort of Malay psychology, racial politics. They even had an episode that was called Sawan Agamawan. You know, I'm not even sure how to translate that. But it's quite a provocative title about religion and religious leaders. So it is a challenging show in a sense. It seeks to address issues that the country is grappling with, but in a more light-hearted, satirical way. And
Edry is
the host, the current
host,
the current host of the show. And Aisha just took over because Edry was unavailable for that week. So to be clear, Edry usually is involved with writing the scripts, you know, working out the skits. Edry is completely full on. So when he presents something, he's presenting something that he himself has prepared, that he himself has a real stake in. Whereas Aisha was just covering, and she was just performing a script that was written for her.
So this was a script that she didn't get involved in writing it?
Not at all.
Or even in sharing her own ideas?
No, she was there just covering. So, you know, she performed the script. Of course, there was a director, etc. And they tried out different skits as they normally do, and they do these things. But no, she wasn't involved in the development or the content. Unlike what Edry normally, he is involved in the development and the content of each episode.
What did Edry actually feel when he suddenly faced with this viral video of a Kupas show that is not hosted by him?
He told me that his first reaction was like, man, how come I don't go viral? She takes over, she goes viral. You know, because he was stuck in Kelantan and he didn't have the best reception. So he couldn't really see what was happening. He could see that the video was uploaded, and he could see that it had gone viral, that, you know, hundreds of thousands of people had watched it. But he didn't realize that it was actually a huge controversy and that people were very, very angry. So his first reaction was jealousy, really.
That's a funny one.
Very cute. And Edry is the host of our documentary as well, of Viral Beat.
He's the narrator.
Yes, he's the host all the way. He's the narrator and the host. So the documentary is actually done a little bit like the Kupas series itself. It's filled with funny skits, and it's a personal journey for Edry. So after the controversy, he sort of thinks to himself, why did this happen? How could this have happened? What's really going on? So the documentary is his journey as he tries to figure out what happens. And as he goes through this journey and he talks to all of these people and learns about hudud and all of this kind of stuff, he also discovers that he himself, has gone on a journey previously. Like, how did he become the person that he is today? Is actually mirrored by this documentary. I'm not going to say any more than that, but it's quite an emotional journey for him as well that goes beyond the controversy
I'm going
itself.
to say you will cry besides laughing. You will definitely shed some tears.
We had people on screen that came close to shedding tears in our interviews, actually. Yeah, I mean, there were some parts that were quite emotional.
Talking about freedom of expression, which is actually also one of the main issue that were being discussed throughout the film. What is your personal opinion when it comes to freedom of expression in the public sphere? Should it be curtailed? Should it be monitored? Should it be let free?
I'm going to answer that question from the point of view of the film first. Because the film, it starts off trying to look at how does an online controversy happen. But it ends up looking at how do we negotiate differences of opinion in the public sphere. Particularly differences of opinion around things that affect us all, such as law. We live in a democracy. We must have a right to discuss laws that are going to affect all of us. Laws that are already in place as well as laws that are being proposed. So the documentary explores how do we have a discussion about things we profoundly disagree upon that are going to have an effect on us. So hudud in Malaysia is not just a theological concept. It's not just whether you pray or whether you believe in a particular prophet. It is possibly going to become law in a democratic country, and thus all citizens have the right to discuss this law that will affect all of us, even non-Muslims. One way or another, it will affect everyone. So at the end of the day, the film is talking about that. How do we negotiate differences of opinion in a public sphere in a situation where something is going to become law or going to become policy? So for me personally, which reflects Edry's position as well, which he says in the film, I think as long as something is going to affect us as citizens, we must be allowed to talk about it. Of course, there are limits to how we talk about it. Even if we talked in a room, like I'm talking to you now, I can't go over to you and spit in your face. That would be unacceptable. I can't hit you. That would be against the law. So there are limits to how we communicate with each other and how we communicate our differences of opinion. No, I'm not advocating a complete bare-knuckle free-for-all over our opinions, but we must also be able to have the discussion about where those lines are.
Nowadays, it seems like people are scared or fear to even voice out anything.
Terrified. People in Malaysia are terrified, especially if it has anything to do with race or religion.
And you experience it firsthand when you try to interview ordinary people to get their opinions.
Not just ordinary people. There were other people who were also experts in some sense, and there was a reluctance to discuss this on camera. But for ordinary people, even more so. Ordinary, when we went to Taman Tasik Siwangsa, even in other places, they refused. They just refused. And we said, what, you don't like the video? You think the video is bad. Why don't you just say that? So even people who severely dislike the video, which seems to be the public opinion, refused to talk about it as well. They were just terrified. And their excuses were brilliant. Okay? They actually said to us, I'm scared the police will come arrest me. I'm scared people will get mad at me. I'm scared that I will lose my scholarship. People actually said, I am scared to lose my scholarship if I voice an opinion in a public arena. We spent hours trying to find people who were willing to speak on camera about
It's not easy.
It's not easy. But it's ridiculous if you think about it. You can't even tell anyone your opinion about a viral video. Like, what makes a society so scared to just say, I don't like this video, I like this video? They will say it online.
That's true.
But they will not say it in a public open
Maybe that's
space.
the reason why people are so vocal online. In person, they just become someone else. But online, they can be anyone. Maybe because they don't have that freedom of expression in the public sphere, that when they do have freedom of expression on the internet, they don't know how to control it.
Yes.
So how do you reconcile with that?
Well, I think, like you said, what is my opinion about freedom of expression or about open debates? I mean, freedom of expression maybe is not the right term. I think more like open public debates. I agree with you. I think that if there was more of that, with clear rules, you cannot threaten someone. You cannot, you cannot insult religion. But when you say insult religion specific, you cannot insult the personality of the Prophet, for instance. Specific, what does it mean?
Not just every comment on religion, you just put it, you're making fun of religion.
So when you say you cannot insult religion, that has no meaning. You must define that with clear guidelines on how the conversation can happen. Then people can have that conversation in the public sphere without fear. And then they won't take out their anger online. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of anger and people don't know how to behave. And then, bam, the only free space they have left, which is online, everything comes out. Everybody goes crazy.
And talking about viral beep, I know we've been discussing a lot on the content of the viral beep, but I'm sure a lot of people are interested to watch your film. What are your future plans to air this?
It's currently touring with the Freedom Film Fest around Malaysia and Singapore. So it's going to be screened somewhere in Malaysia or Singapore every weekend from now on. So at the next one will be October 10th in Kuching, and then in Penang on October 16th, Kota Kinabalu on October 25th, Johor Bahru and Muar on November 7th and 8th, Singapore on November 14th, and Ipoh on November 21st. So that's the official tour. We are also being entered in a few film festivals around the world. So likely we'll be screening somewhere in Indonesia and maybe the Philippines later this year or early next year. And
but can we get physical copies?
Not yet.
Not yet.
There's an exclusivity period of a year. So next year we'll be putting it online so people can watch it directly.
Maybe it become viral on its own.
Maybe. But people will forget about it. That's the problem. They'll be like, oh, what? That controversy? So that's kind of a timeline to this film. But we're also going to, we're beginning to organize smaller viewings with students, young people, because we've had this discussion before about how sometimes films that are a little kind of has a social message or something like that, it tends to stay in activist circles. So, activists make films for other activists and we all like each other's films. But we made a decision to make this film in Malaysia for a Malay audience. This is a Malay issue involving Malay people, involving the Islamic religion in this country. We really want to get this film seen and discussed and dialogue. You may not like our film, you may not agree with our position, but our point is that we would like us all to be able to talk about it, to discuss, where the lines are, how we want to continue dialogue in this country.
So students and education institution can openly approach you?
Absolutely. We will be happy to screen at any association or university or anything like that, or even young people's organizations if you have your own grassroots or your own, film club, or even, a group of friends. If you really want, just, talk to us on our Facebook page.
Before we end the show, what's your future plan?
We are developing a few different documentaries. We really want to do things that is Malaysia focused, or at least Nusantara, or even like an Asian.
So this is like a stepping stone for you?
Absolutely. And certainly because of Leipzig, which we didn't expect, we're going to go to one of the biggest documentary film festivals in the world. This is the place to talk to people, to pitch the next project, and so on. So we've got about 3 or 4 that we're developing. I can't say too much, but the kinds of things we're looking at something to do with Lembah Bujang. We would like to do an archaeological type thing. Something about racial politics in Malaysia. And the other one is actually looking at the history of Asia via migration rather than empire. Because people always talk about Asia as empires like China, Indus Valley, Babylon, etc. But my own personal opinion is that Asia as a continent has been shaped just as much, if not more, by the mass migrations of people going back and forth across Asia, along trade routes, around, religious movements, etc. Malaysia, of course, is a great example.
Anyway, thank you very much, Mayang.
You're welcome. Thanks, Arlene.